Servus, my friends! Welcome back to the Bavarian Outback. Great that you are joining me again. Today we are going to build the famous flower pot heater. I don't know if you know it, but it's a very interesting and a very old technique to heat little rooms or maybe your greenhouse. You take the small pot, this one goes in the middle, and then you take the bigger pot, which goes over the small one, and you need a little distance so that you get a circulation of air. The cold air gets in, down under, and when it starts to heat up the air, it blows out the hot air through the little hole in the bottom of the flower pot. That's what it is all about today. Have fun with this video and let's start. We need a saw blade and some old wrenches. Then we need a small flower pot and a big flower pot. In the next step, you have to fix the wrenches on the saw blade or on your button thing and divide it into 3 sections. I prefer the 3 sections because when you put something on 3 points, it cannot wobble around. So in the next step, we have to weld all the things together. If you cannot weld, then you can use any other thing for the bottom plate. The only important thing is that you choose material which cannot catch fire. The original idea of the flower pot heater, when they invented it in World War I or World War II, was to put the flower pots on the metal rim of these little candles, so that you get the distance just alone from the candle itself. But so don't worry if you are not a big welder, because you can use anything for the bottom plate. As I said or mentioned before, it just has to be fireproof. So take whatever you want. You need the space that the air can flow, but that's the only thing you have to take care about. So now they are welded pretty well. So we have 3 sections. Now we take away all the sticky tape so that we don't have anything that can catch fire. And besides this great idea of building a flower pot heater, we also recycled an old saw blade and some old wrenches, and I think that's a really cool thing. Look at this pretty base for the flower pot heater. I really like saw blades and I really like wrenches, but I think you already know that these are my 2 favorite scrap metal things. The idea of this subconstruction is that you get a little bit airflow beneath the flower pots. Then you take 3 candles or maybe 6 candles, depends on the size of the flower pot heater. Of course you also can take 9 of these candles, but for our little experiment I think we start with 3. place them in the middle so that they are completely under the first little flower pot. For the next step, let's light the candles and then we will check how much heat they will give. And when all your candles are burning, then you take the little flower pot and put it over them. In the next step you have to check if the candles get enough oxygen. If they don't get enough oxygen, then you have to make the little gap between the flower pot and the bottom plate a little bit bigger. And go check that all the candles are under the first flower pot. This first little flower pot will get really hot, and when you start putting the bigger one over it, then you have a very safe construction to heat your cabin. As you see, this is a really big flower pot heater. The main job of this outer flower pot is that you are not able to burn your fingers on the inner one, because the inner one is getting really hot. So now we have put the thing together, it creates an airflow which goes around the little pot in the inside and comes out of the hole in the top. So it works like an old radiator. You know that these little candles burn for a very long time, so this construction also will heat at least for half the night. So take a little look from the top and check that all the candles get enough air and if they are burning. And then we will wait about half an hour and check the temperature. We started with 12 degrees Celsius in this room, and let's wait and see how much temperature we get in the end. So be very careful with your fingers and all the stuff around this flower pot heater. The inner flower pot will get very hot. The outer flower pot will not get so hot, but you can easily burn your fingers. Now let's check what temperature it is, and then we will check what temperature we will get after about an hour or maybe two heating up this little room in my cabin. So in a few minutes we increase the temperature from 12 to 15 degrees. I think we will add a few candles and upgrade it to 6 candles, because this construction is a really big one. So this little one is really hot, so you can barely touch it without burning your fingers. Let's look for some metal tool that we can lift the flower pot without burning our fingers. Okay, so let's add some candle lights, that we get a little bit more temperature, because I think the construction is too big for only 3 little candles.
Die perfekte Teelichtansammlung. Ja.
Yeah, be careful, because this little flower pot is really hot. So take the metal thing, put it back on again, and let's start our experiment. Put all the candles under the first flower pot. This is very important for heating the whole thing up. So far I would say that this experiment went very well.
Ist das Experiment sehr erfolgreich zu Ende gegangen.
So let's check what we got here. When you look here, you see that all the candles still burning. It's an hour later. We started with 12 degrees Celsius in a 10 square meter cabin. I blocked the direct way to the thermometer with an iron bar so that it don't get the direct heat, and we get a good view how much the temperature really increased. And you can see right now we reached almost 20 degrees Celsius. So the experiment went very well with the flower pot. So we figured out that we can really heat a little shed or your greenhouse with this old technique flower pot heating thing. So that was a real cool experiment, and it's really heating up our
Schöne
shed.
Sache.
And for
Die
sure,
Handschuhe
the
habe ich
little
mir, glaube ich,
gloves
völlig umsonst
I
hierher
don't
gelegt.
need for the rest of this evening.
Das ist schon richtig schön wärmend. Ja, liebe Leute, das war's mal.
So my friends, that's it for today. I hope you liked the video. It would be great if you give me thumbs up, and it would be even better if you subscribe to my channel. Visit me again, it would be a great pleasure for me. And what should I say? Have a great weekend!